All right, you guys ready?
Ready?
Yep.
This is Fantasy Intervention. Now here to intervene with your fantasy life, Dave Kluge.
Love that music. Gets me going every single time. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to part 2 of Dave's weekend warm-up. For those of you that missed it yesterday, we had an awesome show. We were joined by Football Guys owner Joe Bryant. We weren't doing a deep dive into the Super Bowl. We were talking about what it was like to start a fantasy football website from the ground up. For those of you that are in a similar position, I highly recommend going to check it out. It was an awesome show. We got to pick one of the greatest minds in the industry, and you can find it on youtube.com/fantasy intervention. Today's show, though, is going to be all about the Super Bowl on Sunday. I'm joined by two gentlemen that are both pretty new to the fantasy intervention team, but I am so excited to have them on here and get them a little bit of talking time. First of all, we've got Evan. Evan, why don't you introduce yourself, let the people know where to find you and what you've got going on right now.
Sure. Hey, thanks for having me. I'm Evan. You can find me at Dr. Dynasty. I did the last letter with an E instead of the Y there. Just joined our circle in fantasy intervention. I'm writing mostly on dynasty articles. I love dynasty football, so that's my main focus. Although right now, my current project, I'm working on some free agent predictions.
Yeah, everything that Evan has produced so far has been straight fire. He's a dynasty writer for us over at Fantasy Intervention, which you can find obviously at @joinourcircle_ on Twitter. He is a Jonathan Taylor stan for those of you that are big into Jonathan Taylor. And as far as his lip syncing videos go, if anybody was paying attention to those, Evan just absolutely stole the show. He had a Prince one, he had a Taylor Swift one. They were both hilarious, so be sure to check it out. And then we've also got Jordan joining us today. Jordan, same thing. Let everyone know where they can find you on Twitter and what you've got going on right now.
That's right. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Evan. My name is Jordan. You can find me at Santos L. Halper 83 on Twitter. Just started with Fantasy Intervention, and I'm going to be writing about everything from player profiles, dynasty. Got tons of experience. So if you find me, interact, ask questions, we're just going to do it all.
Yeah, these guys are both, like I said, a little bit newer to the team, but we are trying to, get them some extra opportunities. So be sure to give them both a follow on Twitter, and you will not be disappointed. As for Jordan, he does a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of dynasty for us, and he didn't even mention it, but he's also working at Fantasy Pros now, which is awesome. Congratulations on the new gig over there. And then you might have been able to catch it by his Twitter handle, but he is the biggest Simpsons fan I know, and from what I've gathered, a fantastic golfer as well. Like I said, yesterday's show was all about the business behind fantasy football. Today's going to be all about football itself. We're going to keep the show completely about the Super Bowl and hopefully help you win some money on Sunday. We're going to be discussing prop bets. We're going to talk about MVP candidates for the Super Bowl. And then last but not least, we will get our picks in. So let's dive right in. I realize, first of all, that when it comes to prop bets, everybody's can be a little bit different. I live in Colorado. I use Bet Rivers for my sports betting. Every sports book moves their lines. I pulled these Tuesday morning, so that's what we're going to work with. But be sure to double check the lines before you place any bets to see if they've changed drastically in your favor. So we're going to start off talking about the quarterbacks here and some of these passing prop bets. We've got Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I don't have to spell it out here. We've got two of the greatest quarterbacks of our generation going head to head here. That being said, Tom Brady's passing line is a little bit below Patrick Mahomes. So let's start off talking about Tom Brady here. What I pulled is that his passing prop bet is set at 295.5 yards. Are you taking the over or are you taking the under? Evan, let's hear what you got to say first.
All right. I struggle with these. These are all tough, especially when you're talking about Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, just such fantastic quarterbacks. 295 is high, but I actually am taking the over. Brady averaged 289 yards passing this season. In the postseason, he's only averaged 240. But in the first game they relied more on the run game. He went over 295.5 yards 9 times this season. I just see the game as a potential shootout, a lot like last time, which finished 27-24. I also see the Bucs just trailing in this one by a possession or two. And again, in that last outing versus the Chiefs, he had 345 yards. So, I just see him feeding Godwin and Gronk a lot in this one, playing catch up and just being Tom Brady, being the GOAT in a big game.
Yeah, you shouted it out. You shouted it out right at the beginning here, but yeah, we get a lot of insight as to what to expect because these teams just played each other a few weeks ago, and we kind of got to see that then. Granted, I don't think Tyreek Hill is going to be going for 3 touchdowns and 300 yards again, but we might have been able to see a little bit of what to expect already in the Super Bowl. 295.5 yards for Tom Brady, over under. What are you thinking, Jordan?
When I got this, I had a problem. 1, I hit the over button way too fast. And 2, I started hearing my opinion echoed way too often on Twitter. So that meant 2 things to me. 1, I was in the popular, and 2, we'll strap in. But yeah, I'm piggybacking on Evan's point. Like, I worked backwards, and I have a high-scoring game in my head. And then I took a look at Brady's, not only his recent numbers, but I had a conversation with a friend. This is a home game for Brady. And I didn't mean that in the sense of being in Tampa Bay. But this is a home game for him being his Super Bowl. This is what he does. So, I mean, Brady in the Super Bowl alone averages 315, and that includes his first Super Bowl, which was like 150 yards, something like that. So you take that out, he averages 336 in the Super Bowl alone. And the conversation was like with the friend went, oh yeah, they're in Tampa. Well, this is an odd year, but they're still going to have about, I think, half capacity. So it is the true sense of a first really home game that they're going to get. So I'm going to stick with the over despite it being echoed amongst the public.
And you know what? I'm going to make it a 3 for 3 with you guys. I am also taking the over here. And Jordan, I love what you said about this being a home game for Tom Brady. Not the fact that it's in Tampa, but the fact that it is a Super Bowl. If there's anybody that is comfortable on Super Bowl Sunday, I mean, who else can it be besides Tom Brady? This guy's just done it almost every single year. So yeah, you want to talk about home turf, that's it. Now let's switch to the other quarterback here, the one that obviously is going to have a much higher line for his over-under. Patrick Mahomes, last I checked, it was sitting at 325.5 yards. So we're looking, a full 20 yards more than what they're expecting from Tom Brady, and a team that's also the favorite. So that's a lot of yards for a team that is expected to take the lead here. Jordan, we'll start off with you this time. Do you expect them to hit the over or the under on that 325?
That's such a good number, and that's the problem. So this is one of those numbers I'm not going to touch personally in my book. I don't like it because it's really good, and when I come up in my head, it's like on the high end, I see Mahomes at like 340. If Mahomes starts having to get into the very, very high 400 numbers and blow that number away, Kansas City's in trouble. I don't think Kansas City's necessarily going to be in trouble. I kind of am echoing what Evan said is if there's a team that's going to be trailing, I believe it to be the Bucs. Kansas City is such a quick strike offense. I don't really see them being able to trail that much. So I'm not going to touch it, but if I did, I would lean with the under on that and flirt with the number itself.
Yeah, and that's a very fair assessment. Let this be a lesson to all of you degenerate gamblers out there. You don't have to place a bet on every single line that you see. Sometimes it's better to say, this bet's gross, I don't want to touch it, and just not put money on it. And you can do that. And I'm kind of in the same boat with you. But Evan, what do you have to say about this one?
Yeah, I agree with Jordan's point. About my point as well, which was like Bucs should be playing from behind in this one. At least I would bet on that. So yeah, that could hinder Mahomes' ceiling, but I still see him getting the over here. He averaged 316 yards passing during the regular season. He's gone over 325 yards 8 times this year. So, excluding postseason, of course. The Bucs run defense is so stout. They're number one in rush defense in football. And I just feel like the Chiefs are going to be relying on their passing game to win this one. They also, I don't see Tyreek Hill also going for nearly 300 yards again and 3 touchdowns, but I think we're going to see a lot of Kelsey. I think we'll see a lot of Hill, and I just feel like they're going to depend on them, especially since, in my opinion, there isn't really. This might be hot takey, but I don't think there's really a featured back in Kansas City, and it's yeah.
That is not hot takey whatsoever. Yeah. I mean, they drafted somebody who was supposed to be a feature back, but now you're seeing Darrell Williams doing the same thing that we saw Damian Williams do last year. So, exactly. And you know what? This, I think what I'm about to say here just proves Jordan's point, because we got Evan taking the over. We've got Jordan saying he's sitting this one out, and I personally would take the under. So this is going to be one of those high-risk ones. We were all pretty unanimous in Brady's favor, but Mahomes, that definitely seems like one of the riskier ones if you're going to be taking that. Mm-hmm. So this one really intrigued me a little bit. And considering, we're kind of torn on Mahomes's over and under, and we were taking the over for Brady, there's a bet right now where it says, who do you think is going to have more passing yards? And you've got Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, with Tom Brady being the favorite at plus 130. So since we're all kind of expecting the over for Brady, would you feel comfortable enough to put money down on the line that's paying out 130 that Brady outpasses Mahomes? Evan, we'll start with you this time. What do you think?
Oh, man. So originally I was going with Mahomes, but this conversation is switching me up a little bit. I think I actually am going to go with Brady. It's so close. Like, you've got both of them. Let's see here. Mahomes averaged 316 yards passing, Brady 289. I do think Mahomes is clearly up against a lesser secondary. The Chiefs were 15th in receiving yards allowed. The Bucs were 23rd. Man, that's tough. But yeah, I'll go with Tom Brady. I just feel like he's the GOAT. It's the Super Bowl. Yeah.
What about you, Jordan? I mean, would you feel confident enough putting money down on Tom Brady, or do you think Mahomes is still going to have the edge when it comes to overall passing yards?
I love this because I'm getting some headroom here. So at the 130, you're getting some room with the plus 130. You're getting some juice there. So that was one of the bets that I loved. One, because home game, Brady in Tampa. He has more weapons, arguably, at his disposal than does Patrick Mahomes. I see that going over because Brady is the type of guy who can beat you with that. We've seen 4 or 5 guys going for 60, 70 yards, no problem. Mahomes has yet to prove that to me as Tom Brady has. So I'm taking Brady here, no problem. And it's a lot to do with that plus 130.
Same.
Talking lower, probably not.
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat, and that's why I picked this bet out specifically, because this is one that really jumped out to me. You've got the Bucs are going into this game as the underdogs, and we've already talked about it a few times that Tom Brady is kind of in his comfort zone. He's playing in Tampa. He's playing in a Super Bowl. He's been there before. So this is one paying out plus 130 that I'd feel comfortable putting some money down on Tom Brady to outpass Patrick Mahomes. And then we've got another one here, and this one also has some crazy juice built into it, and it seems pretty attainable. So we've got Patrick Mahomes, his passing touchdowns. The over-under is sitting at 3.5 right now. Obviously, that's a very high number to set, but if you bet the over, it's playing out plus 185. So is that enough for you to bet the over? How about you, Evan? What are you thinking?
No. Yeah, not for me. 4 touchdowns, basically. That's right. Just a lot. He did that 3 times this year, or Mahomes did that 3 times this year against the Jets, Panthers, Ravens. But even after dropping 462 yards on Tampa Bay the last time they met, he still didn't eclipse 3 touchdowns. It's only happened 45 times in playoff history, and actually only 5 times in Super Bowl history. Wow. Troy Aikman, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Terry Bradshaw, and Tom Brady. So I think Mahomes is like on that level. Wouldn't surprise me if he did it, but I can't do it.
And what are you thinking, Jordan? I mean, would you be able to put money down at plus 185, or is that just too steep for you?
Nope. I hate these bets to begin with, so my personal feelings on that. I almost never touch these quarterback bets like this. It's a tourist bet, in my opinion. And this bet, if you take it, says so much about what else you're going to do on the game to me. So if you're thinking Mahomes is going to get 4 touchdowns, then you probably have a different play out scenario in your head than I personally do. So I'm taking the under if I'm going to take units on that, but I don't think so at the minus 240 because I like the under.
Exactly, yeah, and I'm with you. I definitely like the under here, but with those odds at minus 240, that's just not a bet that I want to put down. I mean, it's just not really there for me. I was interested to see if any of you were going to take the over, but that was kind of a setup question. So way to go taking the under, and I really like the history that you dug out there, Evan. It's only happened 5 times in Super Bowl history. That is pretty unbelievable. So now we're going to go into some receiving player props. There is obviously no shortage of unbelievable pass catchers in this game. We've got Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski. You can even talk about, Cameron Brate and some of these other guys. But we'll start with the obvious one here. Hardman. Yeah, Hardman is one that a lot of people are keeping an eye on, especially after the way that Tyreek Hill embarrassed him last time they played. A lot of people are expecting that big pop from Hardman here. But let's start with the obvious one that everybody's going to want to know about. I mean, this receiving line is just sky high. Travis Kelce is set at 94.5 yards. When do you ever see a tight end that is expected to catch almost 100 yards in a Super Bowl? It's absolutely mind-blowing to me, but people are going to be taking the over here because he has just been that good. So, Jordan, we'll start with you on this one. Travis Kelce over under 94.5 yards. What are you taking on this one?
I liked that one arguably the most out of any of these. With the over, because I look at the season Kelce's having. I think about Andy Reid. Andy Reid tends to play a possession game in a Super Bowl, and I honestly thought back to Eagles Super Bowl with T.O. getting whatever it was 12 catches 15 years ago. That's what I see for Kelce. I could see him going for like 12 catches, 110, and a dump or 2 over the top. Like, I like Kelce here in this game a lot, so I'm taking over, despite the negative odds.
What about you? I almost called you Dr. Dynasty. What about you, Evan?
I'm 100% on board with Jordan. I think, we'll get into that later, but I think Kelce has like legit MVP chances for this one. I just think he's going to be heavily relied on. The last outing, he finished shy of 94. He was at 82 yards and he got 8 targets. But this is mostly a gut feeling. I just think he's going over that 94 number, or 94.5. Yeah, the Bucs also, they're 7th in receptions allowed to tight ends. Kelce's had 21 targets thus far in 2 postseason games, and he's averaging 113.5 yards per game. It's the Super Bowl. I just think they're going to rely on the big guns.
Yeah, and you already called it out right there. I mean, he's averaging 113 yards per game. So playmakers get going in the Super Bowl. So exactly. I think this one is one of the locks. And it's kind of crazy to think that somebody with an over-under set that high, that betting the over is the lock. But, they can only push that up so high before they start scaring bettors away. So that one right now, if you bet the over, the odds aren't great. It's paying out negative 141. But still, that's one that I would take all day.
Same.
Now we've got Tyreek Hill is another guy that just – exploded, as Juan Carlos Pena would say, just exploded all over the stadium when he went for 300 yards last time they played each other. Obviously, we are not going to see a 300-yard performance. Well, I can't say obviously, but most likely we won't. The line, though, is set at 92.5 yards. So what are you expecting? Do you think Tyreek Hill is going to get above that 92 yards, or do you think you're taking the under? Evan, we'll start with you here.
All right, yeah. So you pointed out last outing, 269 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's second in the league in deep targets, 3rd in air yards, 9th in targets, 9th in yak. I mean, it's Tyreek Hill. He's averaging 141 yards per game right now in the postseason on 21 targets. Over is so easy for me just because all it takes is 1 play or 2 plays with him. He's just such a legit deep ball threat. Mahomes relies on him. Again, even if he doesn't go for 260, over 100 is just easy for me, especially against Tampa.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Evan? Or I'm sorry, Jordan. Where are you going with this one on Tyreek Hill?
I'm going to take contrarian here. And I know that it's the same thing. So Evan hit my only fear in that is, 78-yard touchdown Tyreek Hill. For the purposes of for the odds here, I'm going to take the under just for the hell of it. And getting back to what I said, I think they're not going. Tyreek Hill is not going to have 239 yards again. If he does, I've got some stupid internet bet to win. You know, I'm not taking that. So I honestly like their points and their movement of the ball to be a little bit more steady. So I'm taking under.
Yeah, this is one where if I was forced to make a bet, I would probably take the under, but I'm avoiding it because, like you said, it only takes 2 catches for him to hit that. With what a deep threat he is, really only takes 2 catches and he can easily hit the over there. But the way that he just embarrassed the Bucs last time, I think they're going to be paying extra close attention to him. It really worries me that they're going to try to do whatever they can to make sure they don't get beat deep by Tyreek Hill. So I personally am avoiding that one. It seems like we're a little divided down the middle here. We got one taking the over, one taking the under, and then me just sitting this one out. So bet that one at your own risk. I mean, Tyreek Hill, all eyes are going to be on him. Now we switch over to Tampa Bay. And they don't have anybody that's, projected those crazy numbers looking above 90 yards. They have 3 pretty solid pass catchers out there, though. The first one with the highest line is Chris Godwin, and his over-under is currently sitting at 77.5 yards. And the payouts are pretty similar on either way that you would choose to bet that. So looking at Chris Godwin here, first of all, do you expect him to go over 77.5 yards? And do you think he's going to be that primary target? Evan, let's hear from you first on this one.
All right. Yeah. So I'm taking the over. I love Chris Godwin in this. I just love Chris Godwin, period. But I really like him in this matchup. The last time he played the Chiefs, he hit 97. So I just think he got 8 targets. I think he's kind of an easy bet here. He spends 56% of his snaps in the slot. So that means he's going to be primarily covered by Rashad Fenton, who PFF actually gave a grade of like 72. So he's just like he's like an average starter, right? I just think Godwin's going to be a guy who's going to be eating over the middle a lot. I kind of think he could go over 10 catches and just about 100 yards or something. A lot of short work, but I just see Godwin having a big day.
Yeah, I agree with you a little bit. What are you saying on this one, Jordan?
All right, I'm just gonna push my chips in here. When I saw this together, those totals were low enough for me where I could take a 4-pack package deal. I could put a couple of gambling units on a 4-pack parlay to take the over on our Bucs little sheet here.
All right.
I like it enough. So again, I'm going to take Godwin on the over for all of the reasons that Evan mentioned. I see this game playing out like a possession game. It's a chess match. We have coaches with the bye week. We have smart coaches. We have incredible athletes playing it out on the field. So I'm taking the over here with Godwin for all of the reasons that he said: slot, second corner, third corner, because he is Chris Godwin. I kind of see him getting off to a shaky start and settling in and being that guy that they need in the second half.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm taking the over here, too. I think that his line got pushed down a little bit. I mean, Chris Godwin, anyone that's watched this guy for the last 2 years, he is as sure-handed as they come. But he has one nationally televised game with a couple brutal drops, and now everybody's starting to write him off like he isn't a good wide receiver. But let's be honest, he is the best wide receiver on that team, and that line got pushed down because of his recent struggles. So I am smashing the over on that one as well. I'm expecting a huge game out of Chris Godwin. Not to mention, he's a free agent right when this game ends, so he's going to want to go out of the season on a high note and get that money. So I am smashing the over on Chris Godwin here. And then that brings us to Mike Evans, who, this betting website has technically as their wide receiver too, but we've seen him have a fantastic year. Was it 7 straight seasons that he just hit 1,000 or 6, whatever it is? I know he just set the record for it. 7, I believe. Yeah.
I think it's 7, yeah.
And his line right now is set at 63.5, which seems, like a lot for the over. Jordan, are you taking the over on Evans as well?
Yeah, I said it. I'm taking my 4-pack of overs for all the Bucs on our spread here, and I like it because I just see Evans coming up big in the spot that he has been desperate for his whole career. He has been needing a quarterback in the ways that Tom Brady has needed a wide receiver like this. We've only seen Brady do this one time before with a guy named Moss. You guys probably remember him. He was good. I just see that. I see that playing out tonight. Brady to Evans, big. I like that with Mike Evans to get 92 yards.
Yeah,
on 8-9 catches.
92. So you're just crushing the line that they set for you and taking the over on that. What about you, Evan? Are you taking the over on this one as well, or are you going to go a little contrarian here?
I'm going a little contrarian here.
All right,
which hurts. I mean, Evan seems like he's Brady's guy, but in the postseason, he's actually only averaging 27 yards. He's had 11 total targets. Most of them came last week or 2 weeks ago. Even during the regular season, he averaged 63 yards per game. So it's like for Evans, he's like not a yardage guy. He's the red zone threat. And Antonio Brown looks like he's good to go. He plays outside a lot. I also am projecting a big game for Gronk. And the last time these two teams met, he was primarily covered by Javarius Ward, who isn't like a great corner, but he still, kept Evans relatively in check. So, I got a feeling Evans is going to have a quiet day, but I still could see him 50 yards and 2 touchdowns is the thing. So,
that call out about Antonio Brown does make a big difference because even though when you look at them, like if you look at Mike Evans and Antonio Brown standing right next to each other, they look like completely different players, but they play the same role on the team. So that's a very good point. I think that if you want to take a lock on Mike Evans, rather than going for the yardage, you might want to go for the anytime touchdown score because once they get near the end zone, it starts looking his way. We don't have that one in the show sheet, but I think that's one that I'd be a little bit more comfortable than taking the yardage over. And then we already talked about Gronk a little bit when talking about Godwin and Evans. So this is one that really, really intrigues me. But Rob Gronkowski, his line is set at 29.5 yards. So all you need out of Gronk is 30 yards to crack the over here. I know he hasn't been phenomenal this season, but is Gronk going to get 30 yards in the Super Bowl? Evan, let's start with you this time. What do you think?
Man, maybe it's just me, but I viewed this one as like a gift. I just think he's going to smash the over on this one. The last time he faced Kansas City, he hit 106 yards. But it's worth mentioning he's only had 6 targets during the postseason. I think he only had 1 in the first game. He's also only averaging 21.5 yards in the postseason. But this is just one of those. Again, this is one of those. The line's so low, and he's playing. It's Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski in the Super Bowl. I just feel like Brady's gonna find him. Yeah.
What about you, Jordan? Are you? Yeah. Well, we already know you're taking the 4-pack parlay here, so you're definitely smashing the over. So you want to expand on that a little bit as to why you're taking the over?
I mean, 4 receptions for 32 yards sounds like a Rob Gronkowski. Hell of a pass blocking game, contribution to a Super Bowl with his bionic knees. Rob Gronkowski for 8 catches and 86 yards and a touchdown is very plausible too. We don't know. And the same, Rob Gronkowski, what he is now is what Travis Kelce is now. It's what we all thought Gronk was several years ago. So I'm going Gronk, 4 or 5 catches, 30, 40 yards. I think that's pretty safe line there.
And I'm smashing the over on this one too. And they actually haven't released it yet. But one bet that I like to make, I love doing the multi-touchdown score bets because those pay out so big. So as soon as that line drops, if it's plus 6,000 or above, I am putting some big money down on Gronk to catch a couple touchdowns here and hope that one pays out. So I'm keeping my eye waiting for that line to bet or that line to drop. Okay. But I'm kind of with you guys. When it gets to the Super Bowl, people rely, especially quarterbacks, they're going to rely on people that they have that chemistry with. And Gronk, Brady, they go back farther than any other connection on that team. So this one, it kind of feels like it's gift wrapped. And that brings us to the next one that I want to talk about, which is also Gronkowski. This seems like another gimme. 2.5 receptions. Are you taking the over or the under on that? Jordan, I know you're taking the over, so why don't you tell us why you're taking the over? I mean, not too different than what we just talked about, but you got anything else to add?
I think I've given my reasons on that. I want to take this to recant on a little bit of what I said for Evans going for 92 yards. I did not see AB was back. Last I had seen, he was not. So I'm gonna bring that down a little bit. Still take Evans on the over, and I'm taking Gronk on the over for the receptions, of course.
Yeah, 2.5. That just seems like a layup. What about you, Evan?
Yeah, layup.
Yeah.
I mean, I touched on some of the points, but even if we want to go a little deeper, the Chiefs, they were 8th in receptions allowed to tight ends. So, he just smashed them last time. I'm not betting that he's going to go off again, but like what Jordan said, 4 catches, 32 yards. That seems just completely reasonable, easy. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if you just break it down, you got to assume that Brady's going to be throwing the ball about 35 times at least. Let's say 5 of those go Gronk's direction. He's going to catch at least 3 of them. You're telling me that 1 in 7 balls Brady throws isn't going to be going to Rob Gronkowski in the Super Bowl? I feel like that is just the absolute lock right now. If you've got any betting websites that are giving you that 2.5 receptions for Gronk, that is a smash at the over. So go get it right now. So I feel like we were all kind of in agreement when it came to the pass catchers and what to expect there. Now is when things get really, really hairy, though, when we start looking at the rushing lines here.
We've reached the degenerate.
Yeah, and this one, I'm expecting this to be all over the place here. But you got playoff Lenny. You've got Ronald Jones. Is this going to be a LaShawn McCoy game? Who freaking knows? So let's jump into here. Leonard Fournette is the first one. His rushing is set at 48.5 yards. Are you taking the over or the under there? Jordan, let's start with you.
That, again, is such a phenomenal number for Fournette. They have shown their hand so far to want to run the ball and control it in the game here. I think they're going to try and continue with that. I see them doing it a little bit more with the pass game. I'm going to give playoff Lenny here 55 to 60 yards. So I'm going to take the over there slightly. It's not a bet that I love, though. So if you've got this one on your sheet and you could let it go, this is an easy one to just let go.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Evan?
Right there on that last point Jordan made, but this one was tough. I'm taking the over. Or no, sorry, taking the under, actually. So he's only averaged 59 rushing yards during the postseason. He's received 14.5 carries on average. But if you compare that to the regular season, it was only 7.5 carries. So I just don't know. With Ronald Jones seemingly getting healthier, I just see them splitting more evenly. And I see, again, the Bucs trailing in this one. So I like Fournette a lot in the passing game, but I just don't trust him much in the rushing game. I'm taking the under on this one.
Yeah, this is a really tough one because nobody really knows what to expect. I mean, I wish I could just give Bruce Arians a call and be like, hey, man, show me your cards, because we don't know. I mean, Ronald Jones, he got phased out in the playoffs, but was that because of an injury, or is it because they want to go with a veteran in Leonard Fournette? I mean, realistically, nobody knows. If there's one thing Bruce Arians has done really well for the last 2 years, it has gone against everything that I expect him to do when it comes to his backfield. I was a Ronald Jones truther all of last year, finally threw in the towel this year, and then he goes off. I mean, trying to bet on a Bruce Arians running back is not a fun game to play. So that brings us to the next one. Ronald Jones, his over-under is set at 11 yards less than Leonard Fournette, so 37.5 yards. Evan, how are you feeling about this one? Are you taking the over, or are you taking the under for Ronald Jones at 37.5?
Well, first, I'm like the opposite, where I was just like not into Ronald Jones at all. And then this year he made me a believer finally. For this game, I actually like him for the over. Again, mostly because I think he's getting healthier, but he's averaged 11.5 carries in the postseason compared to the regular season where he averaged almost 14. I think if he can get hot early, he's got a great chance of this, because I think Bruce Arians might just start feeding him. What impressed me was like the first game against the Saints, Jones was going off, and he had, I think like a 40-yard run that was wiped out by a holding call. So I just think Jones has some upside against this Kansas City rush defense that has allowed 123 yards per game in the postseason and finished the regular season 9th in yards allowed to running backs. So I just view Fournette getting more passing work, and I think Jones can definitely get over 37.5.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like an easy bet, but like I said, it's tough knowing what's going on in Bruce Arians' mind.
Exactly, yeah.
What are you taking on this one, Jordan? You going to the over or under at 37.5? All right.
Under. Okay.
Let's hear it.
So for a lot of the reasons that Evan said he kind of liked Ronald Jones in this game, I don't. Bruce Arians, if we know one thing about him other than what he loves more than happy hour, is taking the ball out of a guy's hand who he doesn't trust.
Yeah.
Ronald Jones is still young, and despite how he may have proven himself this year, he was one of those guys who he's still got something to show me on a consistent basis. I see Fournette's kind of veteran, carry the ball, hard-nosed runner, being a dominant force in this game for the Tampa running game. And I say dominant force on quotation marks because I'm taking the over on all my passing totals. I'm taking the over on my Fournette. I'm taking the under here because I got to give up yardage somewhere for the Bucs. They're not going to put up 1,000 yards.
Right.
So I'm taking the under here.
I think that's very fair, but I really do like the point that Evan made that if he gets it going early, he could be the guy. I think that's what we're going to see in this game. I mean, again, trying to figure out what's going on in Bruce Arians' mind, who knows? But there's a very good chance that Bruce Arians doesn't even know who he's going to go with in this game, that he's going to get them both some touches early, see who's running better, and then just keep feeding them. So I think that probably around, towards the end of the first quarter, early second quarter, we're going to have an idea of who the running back is going to be.
I agree.
But it's going to take some time. Whoever comes out hot is probably going to get the touches. So, you really, when you're placing this bet on whether it be Fournette or Ronald Jones, you're kind of betting on the talent and hoping that one of those guys is going to step up early, because I have a feeling that one of those guys is going to be riding pine after a couple bad touches. So then we've got a really interesting one here, and I'm just going to talk about both of these prop bets at the same time because we've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Darrell Williams, and both of their over-under is set exactly the same at 30.5. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. Two running backs with identical prop bets.
Never.
So let me know what you guys are thinking. I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to ask whether we're betting the over or the under on here, but I laid it out there. We got both running backs with the same over-under. Jordan, what are you doing with this one? Are you taking the over or the under? Are you avoiding this whole backfield? What are you doing?
If I had my 12-foot pole do not touch bet of the week, this would be it. Like, it's such a screwed up number. It's an idiot number at 30.5 yards. They could get that on either of those backs are capable of it, like in the Tyreek Hill effect, getting it on one catch, one carry. We're not talking about one carry. I see Williams as more of the workhorse. I see Edwards-Helaire playing that swing back role. So I'm not touching it, but if I had to, I guess I'd take the over and just put it together, one unit parlay
and
together.
Just hope that one of them hits, or hope both of
them hits, and take me to that. Give me some money on it.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty gross bet. But what are you thinking, Evan?
I everything Jordan said. I mean, like I looked at this one and I felt sick. I guess, is it individual or both combined?
So I might have made it confusing. Yeah, I should have put two separate lines on the show sheet, but it was just both running backs had the same line. It was kind of intriguing.
Perfect. I read it as each one. I just wanted to clarify. I actually took. So I want to avoid this one altogether first and foremost. But if I had to, gun to my head, put a bet on this one, I'm going to take under for either of them. I don't trust either of them. Tampa Bay's rushing defense is legitimately one of the best we've seen in a long time. They shut down Alvin Kamara this year, held him to 3 yards per carry, held Christian McCaffrey, limited time he got to play, to 3.28 yards per carry. I think Darrell Williams is going to be the guy you want to bet the over on if you're going to bet an over on somebody.
I would absolutely be taking the over on Darrell Williams, not because I think he's the better and more talented back, but we see it in the playoffs all the time, and especially in the Super Bowl. Teams want to rely on their veterans. Somebody pointed something out today that absolutely blew my mind. Antonio Brown, who is just one of the obviously best receivers of all time when he was in his prime, had a very good rookie campaign. But when they got to the Super Bowl, he had one catch for 1 yard in that Super Bowl. A lot of times you see rookies disappear. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, love him as a dynasty asset. I think he's got a fantastic future ahead of him. But betting on him in the Super Bowl, expecting him to have a big game, you're just setting yourself up for failure. We saw it last year with Damian Williams. Andy Reid likes to lean on his veterans that know the system. So I'd be taking the over on Darrell Williams here, and I just wouldn't even be touching anything to do with Clyde Edwards-Helaire because it's just such a wild card. So, we've got all the big players that we've discussed, passing, rushing, and receiving. There are a couple of those, funky prop bets, though, that caught my eye. First, this one pays out big time, and it can happen in a few different ways. We've got one for the big man touchdown. We've got an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman scoring a touchdown, and I know, immediately you're going to say, no, I'm not betting that. That's ridiculous, but it's paying out at plus 800. You put $100 down on a big man to catch a touchdown, and it happens, you're getting paid out 800. I really like those odds. Is that juice enough to convince you to put some money down on this, Evan? What are you thinking?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that just the plus 800 is awesome. But Tom Brady's done that before with the Patriots. I can totally see it happening. I don't know if it will. I feel like with these specific bets, it's just like, take a chance. So if you're going to take a chance, take the plus 800.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Jordan? Is this something that you'd put money down on, or is it just a little too wonky for you?
I don't like this one enough, because what I read out of that is, do I see a strip sack fumble return for touchdown? I could see a strip sack easily out of this group on both sides of the ball. I'm not seeing this group as that dynamic scoop and score crew. Mahomes is too much of an athlete. Brady's too much of an old man. Like, I don't see them coming up with a strip sack fumble like that at the 12-yard line, something freakish. Like, I'm good on that. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, the odds are there. It's something that, if it hits, you're going freaking nuts if there is that strip sack fumble.
So I think I'm not going to take the minus 2,000. No way.
Exactly. So you're just avoiding it altogether, which is probably I think betting that it's not going to happen is foolish, because the payout just isn't worth it. But I'm a huge Shaq Barrett fan, and if anybody's going to do it in this game, it's him. So I don't think I'm going to be taking out a second mortgage on this bet, but that might be one of those fun ones where I throw $5 and hope that it hits and I can win 40.
So that was an interesting question I had about this bet was, what are we qualifying as linemen? Because
I think
edge rushers guys line up.
Yeah, edge rushers typically still count. I think what they go off of, let me check really quickly.
I'd like the linebacker group out of that better. Like, if I'm taking a defensive player to score a touchdown, it's going to be one of the linebackers out of this group. I'm thinking like a tip return.
And you know what? You are right. Thank you for calling that out. Yeah, I just took a look, and on this website, they said that they use NFL.com player position. Sure. Shaq Barrett I thought that he was listed as a DN. He is an outside linebacker. So good call out, Jordan. Maybe I won't.
Check your books.
That was the one guy I was expecting to do it. So good call out there. Mm-hmm. And then obviously, I mean, the fact or the possibility of them drawing up something where they're throwing the ball or handing the ball off to a lineman. I mean, this isn't 1985. I think that was the last time we've seen an offensive lineman score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, probably stay away from that, especially with that Shaq Barrett positioning.
On a pass, probably.
On a pass, too. Well, it was William Perry in 1985. He got the handout, the handoff and scored the touchdown. Yeah, and that's something that they said Walter Payton took to his grave. Walter Payton didn't score a touchdown in that Super Bowl. They got it all the way down to the 1 yard line.
That was his
Walter Payton rush, and then they gave it to William Perry right up the gut. And that was something that apparently he never really let go of. Little Bears fun fact for you there.
Why would he?
What was that?
Why would he?
Yeah, exactly.
He's the goat.
So there's another one that jumped out to me a little bit. And it jumped out to me because of the payout. We're looking at plus 1,600 here. We already talked about how we're feeling, and both of us were leaning, or all three of us were leaning towards the overs on those QB passing ones. So there's one. If either quarterback, Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, can score or record 500 plus yards, that pays out plus 1,600. Are you expecting either of these quarterbacks? Not so much expecting, but is plus 1,600 enough that you'd be willing to put a little bit of money down on one of these quarterbacks hitting 500 yards? Jordan, let's hear from you first.
This is going to get my Clay Davis bet of the week. Absolutely. One, because this is the most fun Super Bowl bet you're going to have that's on our whole sheet. You don't have to root for anybody. You just have to root for Bruce Arians' drunken offense. And Andy Reid is just golden corral here in the playbook. So I love that bet. Give me the yes because that's the most fun bet out here. And I absolutely believe could see a 505, 508 stat line for one of these guys.
I love it. What are you thinking, Evan? Would you put some money down on this one at plus 1,600, 500 more yards for either of the quarterbacks?
I love the plus 500. I mean, I love the plus 1,600. That's super tempting. I don't know if I'm willing to do it though, just because, in Super Bowl history, it's only happened twice.
Wow.
Ben Roethlisberger did it, and then guess
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, right? Against the Eagles. So, if it's going to be the guy to do it, I think it will be Brady though, because
And Andy Reid coached Eagles team.
Wow. How about that?
It's all coming together. If I had to, it would be Brady though. I mean, he might have a shot at it because, again, we've said several times we all think the Bucs should be playing from behind. Game could turn into a total shootout, so it's possible. I'd probably avoid it, but if you want to have fun, like Jordan said, that is a fun one.
Yeah, and that's exactly why this is another one where I'm not going to be going crazy on it, but this is one of those bets that's just screaming to throw a couple bucks on and just go for, because you're looking in the fourth quarter and you're watching that stat line and one of these teams is playing from behind, about to hit that 500. That's a fun bet, and that's a really generous payout. So yeah, I'll throw a couple bucks on that and make the game a little bit more exciting. And now we're going to dive into the Super Bowl pick. And I wish that I had a graphic lined up here. I should have preemptively done that. I'm going to go through all of them before I ask. We'll get Jordan's opinion first, and then we'll go to Evan, and I'll read to do them there. There's only one guy that isn't paying out, and that's Patrick Mahomes. He's sitting at 106, so you're not making your money if you bet on him. He is the clear and obvious favorite to win the Super Bowl MVP. Next up, we've got Tom Brady at plus 210. After that, we've got Tyreek Hill, huge jump, all the way up to plus 1,200. Then we got Travis Kelce at plus 1,300. We've got Leonard Fournette at plus 2,500. Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 2,800. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are both at plus 3,000. And then you start looking at those defenders that really, really pay off kind of well. Tyrann Mathieu, Darrell Williams is obviously a running back, but Tyrann Mathieu and Devin White, they're both at plus 4,000. We've got Shaq Barrett at plus 5,000. And then Mecole Hardman and Ronald Jones at plus 5,000. So those are all the big names that would be likely to win it. Obviously, if you think that the backup left tackle is going to win Super Bowl MVP, you can, get some GameStop money on that bet. But let's just stick with the ones I laid out here, unless there was somebody else that really caught your mind. Who are you picking to be Super Bowl MVP on Sunday? Jordan?
Man, I don't know. I mean, it's MVP is just a quarterback's award to lose, but we've seen them lose that award in the Super Bowl more than we have in the regular season. So we also have sort of a touch of randomness to the Super Bowl MVP in the past. Like, I don't know, Malcolm Smith, Dexter Jackson. There's some random guys in there. So, I mean, for my money, I like the long shots in this. Like, I'm going to go like Matthew, Barrett, and Kelce. Like, I that's where I think it's going to go, because Evan brought it up, I think, the first opening session, where he even likes Kelce as an MVP sort of talk. Like, the numbers are there, the opportunity is there, like his brand is there. He could carry the award well for the NFL, like, for all you conspiracy theorists, that it's all a rig.
And just for everyone that didn't remember every number I laid out, Kelsey's playing out plus 1,300.
Yep.
Plus 1,300. That's a lot of freaking money to be made. Yeah.
Yep. So for my money, I'm going on the low end. If I'm taking one of the low guys, I'm going Kelce. If I'm taking one of like the long shots, I'm going to take one of the defensive guys. I'm going to go Matthew or Barrett, because we've seen a safety. We've seen it, plenty of linebackers win it. Ray Lewis, Von Miller, all those guys. Like, they have so many opportunities to get at the ball. Mm-hmm. And if we're talking about a player who could really come out of nowhere to make an MVP, is Honey Badger. Like, the guy's the truth. We've seen him as the truth. And he's one of my favorite stories in the NFL, like getting his head screwed on and just coming back to a holy cow player level. So that's where our money's at on the long shots.
I like those picks. What are you thinking, Evan? Is anybody jumping out at you specifically?
So Kelce for sure. Plus 1,300 is just so nice. I just feel like that's generous, would anybody be surprised if Kelce caught 12 balls, 162 yards, and 2 touchdowns?
Nope. And that would be a lock for MVP right there.
Exactly. And that's all it would take. And Maybe, yeah, yeah, exactly. So, like Jordan said, though, it's tough because that award is a quarterback's to lose. So, if I had to take some of the longer bets, I really like Shaq Barrett too. That's a great one, just because he's a sack specialist. He's the type of guy who can change the game. I think he's got. I think it was last season. Didn't he have like a 5-sack game? Granted, not on Patrick Mahomes, but. Yeah, and then I'm also really into Chris Godwin at plus 3,000 too. Just another guy I think could go for 120 and 2 touchdowns maybe. But that one a little longer. I like Kelsey the most.
Yeah, I mean, you called Godwin out as just smashing his projections in this one. So if you're going to stay in line with that, that would be a solid Super Bowl MVP pick. For me personally, first of all, I think the trend to bet on Pat Mahomes here is silly. The chances of him, I mean, you're expecting them to win the game, and you're expecting him to spread the ball out a lot and paying out at negative 106. I wouldn't be putting any money on Patrick Mahomes here. But like both of you said, I love the Shaq Barrett one. Something that really blew my mind when you hear MVP. A lot of times, you think of season MVP, but Super Bowl MVP is a very, very different situation. If you look at the last 20 Super Bowls, if you look at the last 25 Super Bowls, 6 of the Super Bowl MVPs have been defenders. So there is a good opportunity for a defender to win that Super Bowl MVP. So I'm with you. I love Kelsey because I think that 2 touchdowns is probably a lock for him to win it. But Shaq Barrett, Devin White, those guys at plus 4,000, plus 5,000. I really like those picks as well. So we talk about it. A lot of the Super Bowl is having fun, betting on some of those long shots. And I think that throwing some money on Shaq Barrett and Vontae, and Devin White is pretty solid. So now let's get to the meat. We got the money line, we've got the spread, and we've got the money line, the spread, and the point total. Wow, I could not spit that out. So this is where everybody's going to be putting the majority of their money here. When I pulled this, I think the line has actually gone up a little bit since then. But when I pulled this on Tuesday, the line for the over/under was sitting at 56, which is just astronomically high for a game. How are you feeling about that? It seems like everybody is smashing the over. Evan, are you betting the over here, or are you taking the under?
I'd say out of all these bets, this was the one I spent the most time dwelling on. I'm taking the under on this one. I do see a lot of yards, right? I've kind of stated that by now. So it seems contrary, but the Chiefs are such a bend, don't break defense. The Bucs are a strong defense. Their pass rush is excellent. I just see both teams being able to move the ball, but I see this one in the same range that it as last time, where it was 27-24, and so it's so close to that. What did you say? It was 56.5. Yeah, I'm taking the under.
All right. What are you thinking, Jordan? 56, you going above or below that for the point total?
I mean, when I originally wrote down my score, it was over. So I'm going to stick with that. We've talked about shootout. Same as Evan, I see a lot of yards. I see it turning into points just because it's the Super Bowl. So I'm going over on the total of 56 based on how I work my sheet. I started with that and worked backwards, but this was probably one of the harder brackets to start with. But my formula, that's how you got to do it.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be, and I'm just saying this is purely my gut. I mean, my prediction, first of all, is 37-31. So I'm expecting a very high scoring game here. But how many times have we seen this throughout the NFL where you see 2 powerhouse offenses coming together and everybody's just smash the over, smash the over, smash the over, and then you end with a 9-12 game or something like that. So this certainly feels like it could be a bit of a trap, especially with how good and fast that Bucs defense is. But I've been singing 37-31 all week. That's been my prediction. So I've got to go with the over here. Now the spread, and again, I don't know, has this spread changed? Have you guys seen anything recently? When I pulled this number, it was at -3.5. Is that still what it's sitting at right now?
Tight.
I've got
yeah.
I've seen it. I've heard it bounced around at 3. That probably just means you're getting screwed out of a half a point by some offshore cookie. But
so what I pulled was 3.5, and I like the 3.5 line. So let's work with that. Obviously, Chiefs favorites here at 3.5. We'll start with Jordan on this one. You're taking the. Are you taking the Bucks, or are you taking the Chiefs with that 3.5 points?
I mean, I'm taking Bucks, and original score that I wrote down was 41-38. So I got quite the Yosemite Sam shootout on our hands here. However, these are one of my most hated Super Bowl bets because now I am John Q. Public. I am taking Tom Brady. I'm taking the over. So, I'm going to be pulling on a push door for a while. I'm not touching this with my own money. For a lot of the reasons that we've talked about, I like to have fun with it. This is more of a grind. Like I kick back and celebrate at the Super Bowl. I like my long shots. I like my MVPs. I like my oddball picks. But if I'm laying it, I'm taking Bucks.
All right. What about you, Evan?
With Jordan, yep. I just, I've got this game somewhere in like the 26-23 range. I think the Bucks can, if they're not, I don't see the Bucks getting blown out. I just think they're too tough. Brady's too good. I just see them finishing within 3 points or upsetting the Chiefs. And Jordan hit a lot of the great points, man. If you're just trying to have fun, like this is one to just avoid, I think. But yeah.
And I'm avoiding this one as well for the simple reason that I am taking the Bucks money line at plus 148. Why would I bet against the spread when I can get plus 148 on the money line?
Right.
I don't know what you guys are thinking with this. Evan, let's hear it first. Are you taking the Bucks with the money line, or are you feeling a little bit safer going with the Chiefs?
I'll just take the Bucks with the money line.
Yeah. I feel like if you're expecting a close game, you might as well just go for it rather than betting against the spread. What are you thinking, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. That's what I've got circled on my sheet. And, if I'm going to have some fun, I even put a unit to hit the over and Bucks to win just because this is a fun day for me. I'm done with my hard work for the year. So
that's a great way to put it. It is so much more fun when you're watching the Super Bowl to throw $5 on purple Gatorade than it is to try to bet on the spread with two of the greatest of all time playing against each other. Yeah, go for those long shots. That's what makes it fun.
I'm wrist deep in buffalo chicken dip, not my wallet that day. So you've either had a good season or whatever. If you're still chasing come Super Bowl time, let's have a talk somewhere else.
Right. Well, what I'm going to do after we're done with this show is I'm going to put together all of our picks that we went through today, and I'm going to share those on my Twitter. So if you didn't have a chance to tune into the entire show, or you just weren't paying attention and taking notes, you'll be able to see exactly what our picks were for each player prop bet that we went through. Wanted to thank you guys for tuning into the Super Bowl edition of Dave's Weekend Warmup. We really hope that some of this advice can help you win some money this week. Wanted to remind you that next Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be hosting Peter Howard. And then Friday, you can find me at 4 p.m. Eastern, same time that we're doing this show. And I'm going to be with JJ Zachariason, late round QB. So excited to have him on the show. That's going to be an awesome show. You'll find us at 4 p.m. Eastern Time at joinourcircle_. Wanted to remind you one more time, if you haven't already, to please subscribe to our YouTube page. That's youtube.com/fantasyintervention. And obviously follow us on Twitter at joinourcircle_. Jordan, Evan, thank you guys both so much for coming on today. This was an absolute blast. Before we sign off, Evan, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you on Twitter and what you've got coming out in the near future here?
Yeah, again, Dr. Dynasty with an E there instead of the Y. I've just got some free agent predictions coming up with Join Our Circle. So it should be out probably in about a week or two. That's my main project right now. Other than that, I'm just getting ready for the Super Bowl.
Hell yeah, man. You've been absolutely crushing it. Jordan, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you and what you've got going on?
Yeah, again, on Twitter, find me at Santos L, letter L, Halper 83 on Twitter. Yeah, that's the at the front. Yeah, I'm old now. I also do work at fantasyintervention.com, so check me out there and follow along Fantasy Pros. I'll be updating the NBA, Sacramento Kings all season. So let's go Kings.
And then you can find me on Twitter at a new handle, which I haven't even updated on StreamYard yet, and I'm going to forget to do probably for the next 3 months. New handle is Dave Kluge _FF. That's Dave KLUGE _FF. Again, I am Dave Kluge. As always, I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for letting me intervene in your fantasy life We're out.